Second only to the Rolling Stones, animals are amongst my greatest passions, as you will know if you've watched any of my programmes. Therefore, it was with some surprise and indeed shock that I read that vets are in short supply across the United Kingdom, with warnings that it could actually get worse. And it's not little cuddly cats and dogs and what have you. These are profound warnings that hundreds more vets will be needed to sign off meat and fish imports and exports across the Irish Sea. Strict European Union border controls mean that supermarkets and food producers will need qualified vets to complete pages of documents for goods shipped between Britain, Northern Ireland and the EU. Now, the government say that importers and exporters, and I quote, should continue to prepare for the new checks coming in from October the 1st. Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by James Russell, who is the president of the British Veterinary Association. This cannot come as any surprise to you, sir, but has the warning come a little late in the day?
You're absolutely right. This doesn't come as a surprise to us. We've been talking about this with government since the referendum, recognising that it didn't matter whether we ended up with a deal or a no-deal Brexit. We were going to be in a position where certificates were required to export food into the European Union. And just to put some context on the numbers, that is, the amount of our time that's taking up. We think that in the year to July, so from 1st of January to the end of July this year, 170 years worth of veterinary time was spent signing certificates for export. And this is before we come to the end of the grace period with Northern Ireland exports as well.
Said in the introduction, I mean, and not with tongue-in-cheek, because I meant it from the bottom of my heart, and I say that as a loving cat owner, dog owner, horse owner. My farm's like a zoo. You've been very busy with that because more people have taken pets on board during the coronavirus. But this is literally vital because this is about the food chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right to point to all of those things coming together. So we've been talking about this as being a triple whammy on the veterinary profession. So we've seen these 3.2 million households who have pets who didn't have at the start of the lockdown. We're also seeing less than a third of the normally expected numbers of vets coming from the European Union to work in the United Kingdom. And then, as you allude to as well, we have these additional challenges of Brexit-related work. And we see that that's going to ramp up over the next few months as we begin to think about import checks, as I already mentioned, as we get towards the end of the grace period with transport to Northern Ireland. So we are concerned, and we are maintaining a dialogue with government about what can be done to try and make the most efficient use of veterinary time in that really important role of keeping food moving out of our country, the food that our farmers are producing for those export markets.
In terms of seeking solutions, James, I mean, you can't suddenly throw the switch and produce more vets because, like as it were, human medics, it takes a long time to train a vet and or a veterinary nurse. Can some folk who maybe have retired a little earlier than they might have needed to be tempted back? Is it any way in which folk can come in at a semi-qualified level, or because it's a government trade document, it needs to be a fully qualified survivor doing it all? How do you deal with it from the veterinary side of the equation?
So the signature on the certificate and indeed all the contents of the certificate are set by the importing country. So in this case, when we're exporting from Great Britain, and I specifically say Great Britain because we recognise the differences with Northern Ireland, but when we think about exporting from Great Britain, the rules of that are set by the importing country, and that is that it is a veterinary signature. And we support that because this is important for both food safety, but also maintaining the confidence in the supply chains from Great Britain. What we're working on is to try and say, how can we minimise repetition and duplication in that supply chain through digitising the system, through using, as you've alluded to, allied professionals, the certification support officers that we have at our disposal, to be able to help make most efficient use of that finite veterinary time resource.
Great to talk to you. James Russell there, President of the British Veterinary Association. A challenge that is very serious, but listening to James there, a challenge that is in very good hands. Thank you very much indeed. And I think the dog in the background barking, either applauding your performance on GBNews or wanting you to go and take him or her out for a walk. So deal with
I'll
either.
get onto that job next.
You're the vet. Good to talk to you. Thank you.